1. Brothers, thanks for watching this webinar. Our topic today is about our house safety checklist. But before we talk about the checklist, let's talk quickly just about safety in general. As a house corporation, safety needs to be our main priority. Maintaining safe conditions is a constantly changing dynamic, meaning that just because everything has been well maintained or good procedures have been followed in the past, doesn't mean that tomorrow or next month they will. So we need to be diligent all the time because the safety issues can crop up overnight. Safety issues can change by season or the lack of awareness by a single resident in a house. For instance, say a member buys a new bike and decides they'd rather store it in the emergency stairwell rather than on the bike rack outside. What once wasn't a problem with no storage in the stairwell overnight becomes a new issue. That's why we need to be ever vigilant to make sure that we're watching constantly that our safety procedures are being followed. Now, we're going to need some help with that. So the House Corporation needs to enlist other graduate volunteers and chapter officers and the House Manager to be additional eyes and ears for us, looking for safety issues and maintenance concerns in general. It's everybody's responsibility to keep an eye out for safety issues. And we need to make sure that everybody that's involved with our chapter understands what their role is, and we need to teach them the importance of reporting issues immediately. Another thing that I want to talk about is we recommend that you adopt a broken windows policy. This concept is used by many types of institutions, but the concept in general is to quickly make repairs when there's an issue, because there's a proven correlation between the care or lack of care shown when there's already damage, broken windows, when compared to when something is in great condition. So the takeaway from this is when there's damage already, the attitude about caring for something is lower, and then there's a tendency for the rate of additional damage to increase. So an example, not a perfect one for our fraternity house situation, is how cities have learned that by removing or painting over graffiti immediately reduces the incidence of copycats or others coming behind and doing more graffiti. That's the approach we want to take with our house maintenance and house care. When something is damaged, that we repair it quickly so that there isn't an attitude of, well, this is already not very well cared for, so what does it matter if I cause a little bit more damage? Okay, so back to our checklist and safety. We certainly don't want anything to happen on our watch. So let's take a look at the checklist that we're providing. And we aren't going to go line by line, but you're going to see that this is a thorough, though not exhaustive checklist. We understand that every house is going to be slightly different. So there's going to be some things on the checklist that don't apply, and there are probably other things that you're going to need to add given your house's unique situation. One of the keys to doing this, using this checklist, is to get it in the hands of a variety of people. So this is obviously for use by the House Corporation, but it should also be used by chapter advisors, the House Manager, and chapter officers. As we go through this inspection, you'll see that it's designed to give you a quick yes or no as you look at different areas within the house. We talk about housekeeping and storage issues, hallways and stairwells, building maintenance and security, the electrical system, plumbing system, furnace and hot water heaters, smoking, smoke detection. We talk about fire extinguishers in your fire safety system, the kitchen and cooking, the laundry room, and then other areas, outside areas. And then we talk about one of our best practice areas in terms of fire drills and inspections from an outside party. So let's go back up to the top of the list and just quickly talk about a couple of these items. As I mentioned, we're not going to go item by item, but it's interesting. As you can imagine, some of these issues are issues until they're not issues until they are. On a recent inspection of a house or a visit to a house, for example, we found propane tanks being stored in the kitchen, 3 propane tanks for the grill. Probably not an ideal situation or an ideal location to keep such an item. Come spring season, you need to be concerned about things like where is the gasoline stored for the lawnmower. And so those are examples of things when we talk about this being a dynamic process and things maybe not being an issue until they are an issue. As different brothers assume responsibilities for different roles, it's possible that maybe things didn't get communicated down to them about what the best practice or the safe practice is for storing different items. One of the things that we want to encourage, again, is really having a high awareness of safety-related issues. So paying attention to stairwells, are hallways free from obstruction, are landings in the fire stairwells kept clear. And again, that can seem hardcore. Why can't we keep our golf clubs stored there? Why can't we keep our bikes there? The issue obviously becomes if there is a fire, if those stairwells are smoke-filled, those things can be hazards. They don't seem like big hazards when the lights are on and there's not a panic to get out. And so we need our house corporations to be strong and vigilant in following good practices for safety, because it's obviously in an emergency situation when everybody second guesses and becomes critical about how the house was kept and how things were maintained. In building maintenance and security section, one thing that we want to point out, if your chapter is using security cameras, to be sure that you're checking whether the security system is recording and how the backups are being maintained, so that if you do need to review something, you have the ability to do so. We also talk about coded locks in this section, and that's certainly something that we think is becoming, or we're seeing is becoming more prevalent, and is important to be able to control the access to the chapter house. And that's a great way to do that with some sort of coded or electronic lock combination system that allows you to be able to update your codes frequently. Going down the rest of this, I think you're going to find this to be self-explanatory. This also, by the way, incorporates some of the elements from the Holmes-Murphy insurance reviews of your property. So you're going to do great with your Holmes-Murphy review if you're using them. If you're using some other insurance company, I'm sure some of these items are also going to be on most any of our insurance company reviews. So this is going to help you be more successful in those reviews as well. So brothers, here's the keys and the takeaways that I want you to consider when you look at using this. First is it's important to do regular inspections, and that should be done by the house corporation, but they should also be done by the house manager and or chapter officers as well. Additionally, we need to just have high general awareness of these items so that we're not waiting if there's an issue with the fire system, a fire extinguisher that's been discharged or is missing. We obviously don't want to wait to act on those things until the next formal inspection. So it's important that the awareness of these types of things that are on the checklist are known to many people so that they can be acted on in between the formal inspections. We should have no tolerance for safety issues being disregarded. So we don't know when an emergency is going to happen. We had a minor fire in a chapter house just a few weeks ago. Thankfully, nobody was injured. So we don't know when that next emergency is, so we need to be acting promptly when we notice something in our safety systems that aren't as they should be. We should have a standard that safety items are fixed or repaired in 24 hours or less. We need, again, the help and support of all the graduate advisors with the chapter to raise their awareness of house condition and house safety issues, and we need to teach them on who to call and report those issues to. Brothers, there's a lot going on with housing, and we know that you're doing a great job, and we appreciate your diligence. We thank you for your time today and listening to this webinar. This tool is available on the FIGAM website under the Graduates tab, and there are other webinars and other resources for you to use. We wish you the best in your endeavors as a House Corporation leader, and know that we're here to support you. Thanks again.